Good morning. We're going to start in 3 minutes. The time is exactly 10 a.m. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Today is the 30th of January. Good morning, property practitioners. My name is Naledi. I am the Stakeholder Relations for PPRA. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this important webinar. Maybe before I continue, colleagues, if you can hear me, please give me the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Today, it's very important. It's part of an ongoing exam drive series, and today's session will focus on the PDE 5 preparation for exam. It's an important journey towards becoming a fully qualified principal in the property sector, and it's very rewarding, and it's going to be challenging, but it's worth it. That's why the session is designed to equip you with essential exam tips. We will see Mr. Ashpol will take us through that. He's going to give us the techniques on how to prepare and effective strategies to help you navigate the final summative assessment that you will be facing in February the 13th. And we know it's going to be very successful. So colleagues, I know by the end of today's session, you will know how to approach the exam, which is your PDE 5 that you're going to go through, and is going to go more in detail on what the PDE 5 will entail. You must feel free to ask questions and engage on the chat. As Mr. Ashpol will be presenting, I will be monitoring your comments. I will be monitoring your chats. If you try to email me, I am going to respond after the webinar because I want us to focus on the engagements. We are recording the meeting today, and we are also going to keep the register today. We appreciate your attendance. And you're wondering who's going to give us this, presentation in depth. We have with us today Mr. Clive Ashpole. He's an admitted attorney, notary, and conveyancer. He previously served as an executive manager. Some of you would remember him. He used to be an executive at what then we used to call Estate Agency Affairs Board, as an education and training executive. And he played a key role in professionalizing the sector by assisting us, now the entity, by introducing the National Qualification Framework and also introduce PDE and also introduced CPD. We are in the industry and we know what those are. And he also, assisted in gaining recognition as a professional body for SAQA to be recognized for the entity. And it's a huge milestone. So he comes with a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, and he knows exactly how he's going to assist you. And I hope that we take notes, colleagues, just questions, put them on the chat. We're going to revert them to them after the webinar. Now, currently, Mr. Ashpole, he's serving as the acting project manager of the Property Sector Research Center. Now in the legislation, we have a new department for research because we constantly have to be on the outlook. What is happening in the sector? What are the gaps and where we can improve, because we're trying to professionalize the industry. So he's part of the team that is responsible for research. And today he's not alone, property practitioners. He will be assisted by Ms. Mamiki Siabela, who's an academic in the Education and Training Department. And she's going to come through after the presentation by Mr. Ashpole, and she will take us through, just closing, especially on how you're going to tackle the 13th of February. And some of you, if you have questions about study guides, she will answer some of those questions. I am not going to waste time, colleagues. I see you flagged the presentation. Wonderful. I can see it. Colleagues, can you see the presentation that Ms. Siabela is flagging? Please give me a great. So I think we can continue. Mr. Ashpole, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Naledi. I'm ready to go if everybody's ready. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining this presentation. I do hope what we're going to discuss today will be of great assistance to you in preparing and successfully writing the PDE 5 in the next couple of weeks. As Naledi said, it's a big challenge to actually undertake the PDE 5, and I'm going to tell you why it's a big challenge. But really persevere, and I'm sure I'm basically expecting 100% pass mark if everything goes according to plan. So let's just have a look and see what is the PDE 5? Why do we have to write it? What's it all about? How does it fit into the greater scheme of things for the training of principal property practitioners? Now, remember, as a principal property practitioner, you've reached the apex of your almost education to become a property practitioner and to pursue a professional career in the property practitioner environment. You can, of course, and we do encourage it, study further if you want to, but really once you've achieved the PDE 5, the PPRA is able to accredit you as a competent and successful property practitioner to the consumers that you're going to be dealing with. So let's have a look at the first slide, which deals with final summative assessment. Now, to give you an idea of why we do the PDE 5, let's have a look at what a final summative assessment is. I think a lot of you, if you've been through the NQF Level 4 qualification and the NQF Level 5 qualification, you will have done, after each of the unit standards, you will have done a kind of test to ensure that you know and understand what you've just learned. That would be called a formative assessment. In other words, we're testing what you've just learned, but it's not the final test. At the end, you will have a summative assessment, which will basically bring everything together, take all your formative assessments together, and then you are either successful or not successful with the PDE, with the NQF qualification. And thank goodness all of you are successful. Now, a final summative assessment actually refers to the last evaluation that will take place at the end of the course, the program, or the educational experience. So this PDE 5, the Professional Designation Examination on Level 5, is the final summative assessment that will comprehensively want to measure your knowledge and skills as a candidate for recognition as a principal property practitioner. So what are the characteristics of a final summative assessment? And you'll see that as we go through these, this is probably what the PDE 5 and even the PDE 4 really embodies. It's a comprehensive evaluation. We undertake a comprehensive evaluation of all the study material that you have covered throughout the particular course. In this case, probably everything up to and including the National Certificate Real Estate or equivalent, and it doesn't simply focus on a specific topic or particular units. So as you can gather from this, the final summative assessment is a cumulative assessment. It's a cumulative assessment that takes place over time and that integrates the knowledge, the information, and all the skills that you have learned during the entire course or program. So with the PDE 5, we're looking at all the knowledge and skills that you will have gathered as a candidate estate agent, as a non-principal estate agent, and then studying to be a principal. So it provides the PPRA, and this is why it is so important. It provides the PPRA with an all-inclusive view of the candidate's learning. So let's have a look at the purpose of the PPRA. So the PPRA, we will the PDE 5, I'm sorry, we will accept is the final summative assessment that the PPRA uses to test whether the candidates have properly mastered the necessary learning outcomes for the award of the professional designation of MPRE, Master Practitioner in Real Estate. So when you are successful, I'm not saying if, when you are successful and you have done the PDE 5 and you've successfully got through the PDE 5, you now are awarded a professional designation, MPRE, which actually accredits you to the consuming public, and they know that they are dealing with a person who has really gone through all the educational requirements to be recognized as a professional property practitioner. So it determines whether you possess the necessary skills, knowledge, and competencies to be granted recognition by the PPRA as a principal professional property practitioner. So the final summative assessment, which is embodied in the PDE 5, provides the PPRA with all the information regarding the candidate's overall performance and also more particularly the readiness for the PPRA to accredit that property practitioner as a principal property practitioner to the consuming public. So in other words, it is a definitive measure of the knowledge, skills, and competencies of the candidate concerned at the time when the examination was conducted. So at the time when the examination was conducted, we are able to say to the public that you will be dealing with, we at the PPRA have awarded you a professional designation and having awarded you the professional designation, you are competent to perform all the activities, all the functions, all the duties that will be required of a principal property practitioner. So now we've got a bit of the background as to why you have to do a final summative assessment in the form of the professional designation examination. So we are going to look now at the professional designation examination itself. The professional designation examination is, as we've noted, and as I've tried to emphasize, the final summative assessment for principal property practitioners, having regard, and this is important, this is what is basically contained in the PDE 5, its inclusive scope. The scope is inclusive. It is a high stakes examination because once you've got through that examination, as I say, you are accredited by the PPRA as a professional principal property practitioner, and you have all the rights and duties of a principal property practitioner. So it is what we would call a high stakes examination. It is a standardized examination. It applies equally to all candidates. And the emphasis of the PDE 5, as you will see when you are doing the PDE 5, is really to validate the competence. In other words, we believe you are competent. As far as the PPRA is concerned, at this stage of your educational journey, the likelihood is that you are competent, but we just need to validate that competence by having you pass the PDE 5. So these various factors that I've referred to basically will determine the readiness of you as a candidate to enter the professional field of principal property practitioner, and more importantly, to be awarded the professional designation. Now, I've mentioned the professional designation, and as you'll see, I've emphasized the professional designation, and I've referred to the professional designation, and I've told you about the professional designation. So again, I just want to underscore the fact that it is a very significant thing to be awarded a professional designation by the PPRA. This professional designation is accredited by the SA Qualifications Authority and is recognized probably throughout the world. But what it does is it serves as an important accreditation to the consuming public, in other words, to the clients and to the users of the property practitioner services that will be relying on you, that you as a principal property practitioner have the necessary skills, you have the necessary knowledge, you have the necessary competencies expected by the PPRA of a principal property practitioner, and that they can safely entrust the services that they wish to be rendered to your hands. So that is quite a big thing. It also signifies that the property practitioner concerned is knowledgeable, is committed to maintaining the highest standards of professionalism and of ethics. And in addition, over the years and over the time that you have been studying to reach this apex of professional principal property practitioner, you have come across, you have studied, you have understood such things as real estate principles, which should be very common practice to you now, laws of real estate, laws of property, the regulations relating to property, market economics, market trends, some of the accounting principles. You'll see all these are dealt with in the study material for the PDE 5, and accounting and ethical practices. With a lot of emphasis, you'll probably note, on ethical practices, because ethical practices are deemed to be so important by the PPRA that we know that if something is not immediately within your knowledge, you can always say, okay, this is an interesting point that you've raised. Give me an opportunity to research it. I'll come back to you. So if the knowledge is not immediately at your fingertips, it's no great shakes. It's something that in these modern days, you can easily ascertain. You just need a little time and you'll research it and come back to them. But what cannot be researched, what cannot be postponed is the ethics of a principal property practitioner. So an unethical principal property practitioner is certainly not someone that the PPRA would be proud of. So I'm sure that you'll see that a great emphasis in the study material is actually placed on ethical behavior and on the code of conduct for property practitioners in general and estate agents in particular. So let's have a look as well at the importance of the PDE 5. Sometimes people say, oh, why must I write this PDE 5? Just another exam, and what does it do? And it's something that's just another obstacle in my way to become a professional principal property practitioner. The whole idea is it is not an obstacle. It is something, as Naledi said, that is challenging. It's something that one has to do in many, many professions. In fact, most professions that I can think of have an equivalent of the PDE at various levels. So it is not unique to property practitioners, but it is something that property practitioners recognize and value. So you'll see if you've, and I'm sure you have, well, I hope you have by now acquainted yourself with the content of the study material for the PDE 5, you will see that there is a broad range of topics and skills that are covered in that PDE 5. Just a manual how to do on how to conduct yourself appropriately and professionally as a principal property practitioner. So it is designed to assess not only theoretical knowledge. A lot of the material contained in the study guide is in fact theoretical knowledge, but not all of it. We also want to look at the practical application of that knowledge. So it's one thing having a theoretical background. It's something else being able to apply that theory in practice in a professional and a competent way. So that is very important. So the PDE 5 is designed as you'll see from the study material again, to ensure that the principal property practitioner has a well-rounded knowledge and understanding of the field of property practice that will be relevant to that particular principal's sphere of interest. Not all principal property practitioners do the exact same things. You'll see there are different spheres of property practice, but whichever sphere of property practice you elect to be in, you need to be a master of the understanding and practical application of the information and the regulations relating to that sphere of practice. The passing of the PDE5, therefore, is an essential requirement, and you'll see that it was in the old regulations, it's in the new regulations, that a property practitioner cannot be recognized as a principal, as a professional principal, until such time as the PDE5 has been passed. And it impacts, again, and this is what we emphasize to the consuming public as well, it impacts on the ability of that person to practice professionally as a principal property practitioner. So again, the PPRA is really almost putting its head on the block, because what it is saying to the consumers out there is, if you are dealing with a fully registered principal property practitioner who has been through the whole gamut of the educational process, we can assure you that that person has the necessary knowledge, has the necessary competencies, has the necessary skills to execute your property practitioner mandates in an acceptable and ethical manner. So again, it's a high stakes examination, as I've already told you, and it represents, and I'm sure you all are aware of this, it represents the culmination of the learning and the practical training that has occurred throughout, and you will agree with me, a rather lengthy educational process. So as I said, this is the apex of the education process to become a principal property practitioner. Again, I've said it's an essential requirement for licensing, and because it directly impacts the ability of the candidate to practice professionally as a principal property practitioner. It is a high stakes examination, and it is a culmination of all the learning that you have been through. I think if you would sit back now and consider how you've basically progressed to this point, you should be very, very proud of yourself. You probably came into the sector, maybe you had some knowledge, maybe you didn't, but you started off as a candidate property practitioner. You went through all the requirements of a candidate property practitioner. Likelihood is you did the NQF level 4 qualification, or exempted by previous qualifications that you had obtained. You did the PDE4, you passed the PDE4, you then went on to the NQF level 5, where again were exempted as a result of previous qualifications obtained. And now you're sitting at a point where there is one final hurdle left for you to get over, and you've achieved it. So you have actually done fantastically well by reaching this point in your careers as property practitioners. Again, an important aspect of the PDE5 is that it is designed to be uniform across all candidates. So it really doesn't matter in what specific sphere of property practice you wish to concentrate on. It's immaterial. The whole understanding of the PDE5 is that it is a generalized final summative assessment to ascertain your level of skills, knowledge, and competencies, and of course, ethics and understanding of the work that you in your particular sphere are doing. So it's standardized across all the spheres of property practitioner. And the consuming public with whom you interact, I mean, who are your bread and butter, can rest assured that once you have passed the PDE5, you have met a consistent level of knowledge, competency, and skills, and that they are able to take it for granted that you are able to maintain professionalism in practice, and that you will always maintain professional standards. So I don't want to harp too much on this, but I think it's very important for you to understand the nature of the PDE5 and to appreciate just how fantastically well you have done to even get to this point. Because the PDE5 actually validates the fact that you possess competencies to effectively and efficiently perform professional duties. Because it is a requirement in terms of the Act and the regulations for entry into this field of professional principal property practitioners. It basically serves as a gatekeeper. You can understand that, to ensure that only qualified individuals can practice as professional principal property practitioners. People who are not prepared to, as Naledi said right at the outset, which I really thought was excellent, if you're not prepared to accept the challenge of going the extra mile and undertaking the PDE5, you're not going to be able to register as a principal property practitioner. Now we're almost getting to the gist of the examination itself. As I said to you, it's a final summative assessment. So what does that mean? It means we basically, in the examination, are going to try to integrate the knowledge from various subjects and topics relating to the functions and activities and responsibilities of a principal property practitioner. The examination, and I'm sure if you've been through the study material, you'll agree with me, draws on everything that you have probably learned during the course of your educational journey as a property practitioner. It looks at theoretical matters, it looks at practical matters, and it looks at the way, as I've also said, that you have progressed from a candidate property practitioner to a non-principal property practitioner, and finally to a principal property practitioner who is either going to run your own property practitioner enterprise or is going to enter into a property practitioner enterprise that is already existing, or is going to become a partner or a director or a member of another property practitioner enterprise. So basically, you are going to assume the reins of running a property practitioner enterprise, and with all the duties, functions, and responsibilities that go along with that. So you really do have to acquaint yourself and to be fully acquainted with what these basically entail. We're not that much interested in the PDE5 to see that you can recall facts. Facts, as I've said, it's important to have a basic knowledge of some important facts that should be at your fingertips. But other matters, not such a big deal. If somebody asks you something, there's no difficulty, no problem in simply saying, thank you, I'm not quite sure of that at the moment. Let me research it and get back to you. It is better to do that than to give incorrect advice. So we're also trying to say to you, don't be embarrassed or ashamed to say that you don't know something. If a question arises that you may not know, we can't train you for absolutely every eventuality. But if a question arises that you don't know, it's no problem, and it's not a hassle to simply say, thank you so much, let me research it and get back to you, provided, of course, you do have the means to undertake the necessary research, and you do then get back with the required answer. And that means that the purpose of the PDE is to ensure that you are able to apply your knowledge and skills in real world scenarios. And when I get to the actual examination, I think it's in the next slide, we'll have a look at that. Now, it's also very important for you to be aware that studying for the PDE5 and basically going through the PDE5 study material can provide you with valuable feedback regarding your preparedness to actually enter the profession of principal property practitioner. You might, for example, come across a chapter or a paragraph or something in the study material that you've never seen before, that you've never heard of, but that you need to know. So this should ring alarm bells and say, okay, I've come across something, I need to bookmark that, to know, to get back to that, study that, and ensure that I know that, because this is something very, very new to me. For some reason, it hasn't been included in the material that I've looked at previously. So the study guide is actually a useful tool to highlight areas of strength. You're going to come across stuff in the study guide which are old hat to you. And I hope that's the case with most of the study guide. A lot of the stuff that you'll come across in the study guide, you know already, and it's more or less just emphasizing the importance of information that is already within your knowledge. So that shows an area of strength in your activities as a principal property practitioner. There might be other areas in the study guide which require additional attention and improvement. And that's fine as well. So you'll come across things that you may not have been aware of or not be sufficiently well versed in. That's great. Have a look at it and use this as an opportunity to ensure and expand the knowledge that you're going to need to successfully and prosperously run the estate agency undertaking that you're going to be embarking on. So now let's get to what I think you've all been waiting for, how we think at the PPRA you should be preparing for the PDE 5. So the first thing you have to do is ensure that you understand the examination format in respect of the content areas and the question types. The content areas are easy. The content areas are those areas that are already contained in the study guide. So that is the content areas. As far as I'm aware, examples of previous examination papers are available on the website for one to have a look at. If they are not, I will speak to Naledi and to Mamiki, and we will put up an example of a previous paper, maybe an abridged example of a previous paper, just for you to acquaint yourself with the way that these papers are basically framed. But you also need to use your study guide to familiarize yourself with the topics that may be possibly covered in the examination. That is not to say that each and every little item that is dealt with in the study guide will be covered in the examination. That is simply not possible. But you need to basically distinguish in your mind what you believe to be very prioritize. What do I believe to be extremely important? What do I believe to be very important? What do I believe to be important? And what do I believe to be, okay, not so great. But prioritize, know what you think is very important, because I'm really sure that what you think is important, the examiner would also think important, and therefore will probably have a question on that aspect in the examination itself. Now, remember too that the PDE 5, the examination that you're about to undertake, is an open book examination that is written under real world conditions. So you are able, just as I try to emphasize, even when you are practicing as an estate agent, you will be able to access any of the available resources you feel are necessary to achieve success. Now, a word of warning over here. And I think anyone who's written open book exams will know exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that it is an open book exam does not mean that you do not have to prepare for the examination. Really, I think there's far more preparation required for an open book examination than for a closed book examination. In an open book examination, you cannot merely repeat the content of the examination of the study material. We know that you have the study material in front of you. We know that you can open it to a particular paragraph or a particular page. So you have to basically show when answering questions that you understand the nature of the question and are able to answer that question in your own words. I can actually remember a time when I wrote an open book examination, and I was talking to one of our colleagues who was there, and it was so strange. All our books were dog-eared, and we had notes, and we had little markers all over the show. And this lady came in, and her book creaked open, and we looked at her and said, "Good grief, have you not studied for the exam?" She said, "No, you don't have to worry about studying for an exam. It's an open book exam." Well, needless to say, she didn't pass the exam. So the word of warning is treat an open book exam exactly like you would treat any other exam. And remember that the fact that it is an open book exam doesn't actually make it easier for you. So let's have a look at some techniques that you can use in preparing for an open book exam. I hope that this is all old hat to you and that you've already been doing everything that I'm going to point out to you now. You need to organize, in the first place, to organize your material by creating, for example, a study binder in which you compile all relevant materials, including the study guide and relevant textbooks, notes, supplementary resources that you've identified. All should be included in the study binder, and create dividers to make it easier for you to access the exact part of the binder that you want to, in order to enable you to answer questions in the examination. Highlight key information. Use highlighters. Use whatever you want to use, but there are ways to highlight key information, again, on a priority basis, and mark important concepts, definitions, and regulations within your study materials. Then, because it's a real world examination, you need to familiarize yourself with all available resources. Hopefully the study guide will be an excellent resource, and hopefully will get you through possibly 80 to 90% of the exam. But a lot of people, and I'm sure that you are, because you are here today, you are one of those people, want to go the extra mile. So The study guide, great. Yes, it will get you through the exam. But if you want to go the extra mile, use other available resources as well. So review the study guide and your notes so you can locate information, make an index list of the various reputable online resources. I mean, today, when you go online, you are just flooded with information. Some of that information is good, some of that information is bad, and you have to make the choice which information you're going to use. So once you've decided that you've come across certain information that you believe is valuable and useful, make a note of that and index that resource so that you can use it in the examination. But again, I warn, please only use reputable online resources. Some of the resources that are available online are really not that great, and I think can basically mislead you. But have a look at once you've gone through the study guide. Try and look at internet websites that you feel may be valuable. There are webinars, plenty on the internet that you can use. Some of the YouTube lecturers are great. Some of them are lousy. So you need to basically make a determination if you want to use them. But create a list of alternate and additional resources that you think might be useful in the examination. Whether you use them in the examination or not doesn't really matter. The fact is that you've increased your knowledge, and that can only be beneficial for you. So create an index or table of contents for all the materials that you want to use, whether written or electronic. List the key topics as well as the corresponding page so that you can easily access that. Now, practice the application of knowledge. That is very important. It's one thing to have knowledge, but it's another thing to practice the application of the knowledge that you have. So work through case studies. The internet has hundreds of case studies, and some of those under certain circumstances, they're not all related to property practice, but there are business case studies, and there are ethics case studies, and there's a variety of case studies. Again, particularly I'm thinking of ethics case studies, I'm sure that there are some ethics case studies available on the PPRA website. If not, I will ask Naledi and Mamiki to put some case studies up so you can have a look at the type of case studies that you would be using in the examination. So look at a whole lot of hypothetical scenarios. They really don't have to be property practice based. They can be anything that interests you. And as I said, many are readily available. Focus on applying your knowledge rather than just recalling facts. In an open book exam, just giving facts is not going to cut the mustard. You need to be able to show that you can apply the knowledge that we know you have in front of you, that we know you have available to you, and that we know are part of the resources that you will be using to study for the examination. So you need to locate and practice similar open book examination questions. Get a feel in doing so of how to navigate these kinds of questions and how to use the resources and the source material effectively during the examination. So that brings us on to the next question of time management. You need to manage your time during the examination. So let's just have a look at what kind of time management strategy might be applicable for the PDE-5. The PDE-5 examination commences at 8 o'clock in the morning and concludes at 1 o'clock that afternoon on the examination date. So again, just a little word of warning over here. Please ensure that your question answer paper is received by the PPRA by no later than 1 o'clock of the afternoon exactly. Any papers received, if it's received 10 seconds after 1 o'clock, that paper will not be accepted. You will forfeit the examination fee and be required to rewrite the PDE-5. It is so important to ensure that the answer papers is timeously received by the PPRA to avoid these possible consequences. So remember, starts at 8, concludes at 1 o'clock. So you have 5 hours, which we believe, and the examiners say they believe, is more than sufficient, not only to enable you to fully research your answers and to write your answers, but to go through them and to timeously submit them to the PPRA at the end. So now you need to manage your time when you get the examination paper, manage your time by planning how much time you are going to spend or you think is necessary to be spent on each section of the examination. So you'll have a kind of idea of what the examination is all about. I think you are given some time before the examination or possibly just after 8 o'clock to read through the paper and then do so. Don't skim through it. Try and read it as best you can. And in your mind, see what you believe to be important, prioritize and ensure that you allocate the correct amount of time for the sections of the exam paper that you feel are going to be necessary. Doing so, if you correctly allocate the time, you're not going to get worried, you're not going to get into a tiz, and you will not get stuck on difficult questions. So read the examination questions. Sometimes it's best, I don't think always, but sometimes it's best to start with the questions that you feel most comfortable with. A lot of people, as a rule, in examinations do that. They'll go through the examination paper, find questions that they're really happy and comfortable with, get those out of the way, and then start worrying about the more complex questions afterwards. There's no problem in doing that because it helps to build momentum and get you going into the examination, and also reduces your anxiety. So that's not a bad solution as well. Then you need to summarize key concepts. Create concise summaries or cheat sheets for important topics. Remember, I've said prioritize. You will know what are the important topics. So you create your cheat sheets for those topics, for information or regulations, as a quick reference during the examination. It is often helpful to use diagrams and or charts if they are appropriate to the topic under discussion, because visual aids really do help in remembering more complex information. And also another great value of these charts and visual aids is to help you locate the information quickly and without any fuss or bother. The main point in preparing for the PDE5 is you need to engage in active learning. If you come across concepts that you believe are important, try and explain those concepts to someone else. So let's take an example. Someone says to you, what is a final summative assessment? Try and explain the concept of final summative assessment to someone else and see if they understand what you're talking about. If they understand what you're talking about, well, you've done it, you've understood it, and everything is great. If they don't, you need to perhaps relook at the whole thing. So if there's nobody else who's going to listen to you, try and explain it to yourself in a way that you will understand. So you'll go to someone and say, I'm studying this. I've come across a topic called final summative assessments. Can I explain it to you and tell me, do you understand what I'm talking about? If they do, great, you're on the right track. It often helps. I'm not sure everyone can do it. It depends on your situation. It depends on where you are. It depends on other people. It depends on who you know. There are a whole lot of other factors that may be valid. But if you can, it does help to join or form a study group where the group members, and I'm thinking of possibly all group members are people who are presently also studying for the PDE5, where those people can discuss key topics and quiz each other on important concepts. Importantly, stay focused and calm. Don't get yourself into a state. It's really not a big deal. You must practice relaxation techniques, try deep breathing, meditation, and do everything that you feel is necessary to manage the anxiety before and during the examination. You remember at the examination, and I'm sure this is applicable to everybody here today, at the examination, you will have already done extensive preparation. You'll be well prepared for the examination, and you know your capabilities. And knowing that you've prepared, knowing that you're very, very capable of acing this examination, you should have no problem with confidence. You need to review the study materials and other resources that we've talked about to reinforce your understanding and retention of key concepts. As I say, some of the stuff in the study guide may be old hat to you, but it's great that you are able to have the opportunity to reinforce this information in your mind. And the good thing is that you really know where to find the information that you might need. Sometimes it helps to take practice tests, make up your own little tests if you want to, with your materials, so that you build familiarity and confidence with the materials that you're using. It's maybe trite to say, but it's really also very important to stay healthy. Ensure that you're well rested and nourished leading up to the examination. I don't think for the PDE5 really that you have to do an all-nighter before this examination if you really are well prepared, if you really have indexed material, if you have binders that are going to assist you. Relax, take it easy the night before, be well rested, and remember that a healthy body contributes to a sharp mind. Stay hydrated because being hydrated will definitely help you to maintain focus and concentration. Now, I think maybe it's a little bit late for these things, but it's probably not a bad idea to have a look at some of these other tips. You need to create a study plan. If you haven't done so, do so now. Break down your study time into manageable blocks, allocate specific times for different topics, and practice examinations. Don't think that you're going to study the whole study guide in one sitting. Forget about that. You need to have really clear, realistic, and achievable goals. So if you think a paragraph, a chapter or 2 chapters or 3 chapters is realistic and achievable for you, that is great. Some people might think that only 1 chapter at a time, depending on your workload, depending on your stress levels, depending on everything else that you have to do, is realistic and achievable. That's fine as well. Do as much as you believe is realistic and achievable, but remember, while you're studying or while you're preparing, while you're doing all these things, do take a break. You cannot sit for hour after hour after hour and expect to remain fresh and able to concentrate. So set clear, realistic, and achievable goals and keep yourself motivated and on track. As I've said before, I'm not going to harp on this again. If you can join a study group, that would be fantastic. If you can't, not a big deal. You'll still be very successful in the examination. Now, one of the things that you do have to do for the examination is you do have to focus. And remember, we said prioritize. You have to prioritize the key regulations and especially the code of conduct. You know that there is going to be a case study on the code of conduct. So you really do have to prioritize the code of conduct. So make sure you have a good understanding of all the laws and regulations governing property practice. Know the major parts of the Property Practitioners Act that will be applicable to a principal property practitioner. Now I'm talking about such things as, for example, appointing an auditor, maintaining trust accounts, things that every principal property practitioner have to do in their day-to-day administration of a property practitioner enterprise. So do know those things. And ultimately, just stay positive and confident. Keep a positive mindset. Remind yourself that you have achieved a huge amount already in reaching the stage that you have reached, that you are capable, you are positive, and it sometimes helps to visualize the success that you are going to have once you have passed the PDE5 examination. Think of the future, what you're going to do, how you're going to use this information, and how valuable it is. Now, I think the final topic that I'm going to deal with today is dealing with a case study in the PDE5. There's going to be a case study, so prepare yourself to deal with that case study. Answering a real-life case study does require certain analytical skills. You need to be able to analyze the information that is contained in the case study. You need to have practical knowledge, and you need an effective study strategy. So you need to understand the format and expectations of a case study. So if possible, and I know there's a ton of information available on this, familiarize yourself with how case studies are structured, look at examples of previous or similar case studies, and just make sure that you are acquainted with the nature of case studies. I think case studies have more and more become a feature of the professional practice of most professions. So it's important that you are aware of that. Study relevant content. Review the study guide and any notes that you have made, particularly, I can emphasize this again, know the code of conduct and focus on understanding the ethical obligations and considerations contained in the code of conduct. And if you can, work through sample case studies to familiarize yourself with the analysis required by identifying the key issues presented in each case and focusing on the structure, argument, and evidence. Okay. Mamiki, if we can have the next slide, please. Sorry. Mamiki, can I have the next slide, please?
Naledi is sharing.
Oh, sorry. Naledi could have, okay. So thank you, Naledi. Okay, so dealing with a case study. Now, in order to deal with a case study, you need to develop critical thinking skills. So practice identifying the underlying problems in each case study and brainstorming possible solutions or recommendations. This is very important to ensure that you make the best of your knowledge when answering a case study. And also analyze the case study. Doesn't matter what the ultimate questions may be, but look at the case study, depending on the circumstances given to you in the case study, from different viewpoints. So you have a case study, and it's going to be based on property practice. So have a look at it. Depending on what the scenario is that is outlined in the case study. So look at it. How would I look at this case study if I was the owner, for example, of the property concerned? How would I look at it if I was a potential purchaser of that property? Would it change anything? How would I look at it if I was a landlord of a property? How would I look at it if I was the proposed tenant or the actual tenant of a property? Would it change anything? And probably just as importantly, if a complaint were to be made regarding my conduct to the PPRA, how do I think they would view it? Would they view it as a storm in a teacup? Would they view it as a well-founded complaint? What kind of viewpoint do you think the PPRA would adopt? So it's interesting, and it just makes the case studies a little more entertaining to have a look at it from the various viewpoints. And don't be put off. Remember, when you're answering a question on a case study, provided you can motivate what your answer is. If you can give an answer that maybe the examiners did not expect, but if you can properly and correctly motivate your answer, you should get the same marks as anybody else. So you don't feel constrained, or don't feel that everybody thinks that it's a contravention of A, B, or C, but I think it's a contravention of D. If everybody thinks it's a contravention of A, B, and C, but you think it's a contravention of D, great. But you have to properly and fully motivate why you feel it's a contravention of D. And if you're able to do that, you will ace that case study as well. Then you need to structure your response to a case study. Sorry. Naledi, could just go back, please. Naledi.
Apologies, Mr. Ashpaul. There's a delay with network on my side. Can you see slide 15?
No. Okay. Yes. Now I can see it. Thank you, Naledi.
Okay.
So what I was saying is, you need to structure your response to the case study. So I think as you've learned throughout your academic career, there are ways of answering case studies or questions in the nature of case studies. You need to include an introduction in which you briefly summarize and highlight the main issues as you understand them. Somebody may not have exactly the same understanding as you do of the main issues of a case study, and that's perfect. But remember, it's as you understand it, provided you can motivate your understanding. You then need to analyze the relevant facts, questions related to the case, whether they be questions of fact, whether they be questions of law, whether they be questions of ethics. So have a look at those. Again, your view might not be the same as my view. No problem at all, provided you can motivate your view. And you need to come up with a conclusion or recommendation based on your analysis. Okay, now Lady, next slide. Okay, so we've got that, thank you. So this is almost concluding now. You need to focus on the ethical considerations. In the case study, review the applicable laws and regulations in respect of the case. Consider any ethical dilemmas that may have arisen. And again, what you believe to be an ethical dilemma may not be what I believe to be an ethical dilemma. No problem. Motivate why you believe that's an ethical dilemma and how these dilemmas should be addressed. Review and reflect. So after you've practiced case studies, review any feedback you might receive and identify areas for possible improvement. And as you go through a whole lot of case studies, you will continually refine your approach based on practice and feedback. Practicing case study is really, really important. And that's where a group or a study group becomes so important, because with a study group, even if it's only one or two or three other people, you can refine and practice your skills in dealing with case studies. Finally, you need to stay informed of current issues. By being updated on current issues, trends, and changes that may possibly impact real estate practices. And we see those all the time. I mean, even if you just read the news media, there's almost every day there are stories relating to property practice and practitioners who did this and practitioners who did that and what the outcome was and the court finding and a judgment. These things are really, really important, because if you stay up to date, you probably have additional relevant context available to you when dealing with a case study. And if you can put in or make mention of these additional factors, obviously that puts you in a whole new light where the examiner is concerned. So now, Lady, I think that's about it as far as I'm concerned. So I just want to say in conclusion, I want to wish you, and I think the PPRA, and I'm sure Naledi and Mamiki will join me in wishing you every success when writing the PDE5. We all really look forward to welcoming you to the ranks as successful and prosperous principal property practitioners. And finally, if you really need additional information, don't hesitate to contact the PPRA. And I'm sure that both Naledi and Mamiki will be more than willing to give you whatever further information you need. I do hope that this has been of some use to you. I do hope that it will help you to study effectively and efficiently, and that without doubt, you are going to be successful in the PDE5 and become the dream professional principal property practitioners that we all wish to see. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ash-Paul, for the presentation. And I think, even us, we were busy taking tips. We're going to have our second speaker, just to add on what Mr. Ash-Paul has indicated, and just take us through the exam pricing. If you have a question, study guide material, and the process, when is it closing to register? Mamiki, can you please come through and just give us some notes after Mr. Ash-Paul's presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, Naledi. Thank you, Mr. Ash-Paul, for your insightful and comprehensive presentation. Your expertise and practical advice have undoubtedly provided us with available knowledge that we can apply in our own professional journeys. To all the property practitioners here today, I would like to take a moment to emphasize an important point regarding qualifying to write the PDE5 exam. So you need to meet the following requirements. You must have acquired NQF level 4, PDE4, and NQF level 5. But if you don't currently meet these qualifications, please don't despair. Your time will definitely come. Continue to work diligently, and when the opportunity arises, you will be well prepared to succeed. For those who have not registered to write the PDE5, please follow these steps. So what you need to do, you need to log into our portal to complete your registration. The fee for the PDE5 exam is 1,690. Now the question is, where do I buy the study material? You can buy the study material at our PPRA offices, over the counter, or send the courier to collect. So I know not everyone is going to write PDE 5. Some of you are going to be writing PDE 4. The cost for PDE 4 study material is 1099, which you are going to get one file. And for PDE 5, the cost is 1,531, and you'll get 2 files for that. So fees must be paid at the PPRA cashier before collection with the form for those who will be collecting with the courier. And if, to be honest with you, if you, I would like to suggest that if you are in Johannesburg, you can pick up in person, or otherwise use a courier with a proof of payment and the order form for them to collect the study material. And again, to emphasize, when making a payment, please ensure that you use a 7-digit reference number to avoid any delays in processing payments. So let's take these tips and strategies shared today and apply them diligently and ensure we are ready to excel in our exams and careers. Thank you, Mr. Ashpal, once again, and thank you, Naledi. I'm not sure, Naledi, if you have anything to add.
The pricing is on the website, colleagues, what Mamiki has mentioned. And, you know, this is a road leading to principalization, and we know that it's part of transformation. We also have a team from the transformation department who later on, after your exams, you have upgraded to become principals. They will assist you on how, you know, with the skills on how to be a better principals, because we have to note that this exam is a road to principalization. Thank you, Mamiki, for that. Thank you for the notes. Thank you for the pricing and the study guides. All the information, colleagues, if you need it, it's going to be on the website. You still have my email address for stakeholder. Send us questions anytime. We're going to assist you until you get to the date of the exams. If you have not registered, please note exams are closing registration 31 January 2025. You can go to the portal. If you are struggling, please email us. We are here to help you. I am going to go through the question, Mr. Ashpal. Let's see which questions do we have today so that we can give clarity to our property practitioners. I think you wanted to say could PDE and CPD not be more meshed? You wanted to say meshed. Since CPD is continuous, not a once exam. Can you please just rewrite that question, user? There's no name MG, so that it can be clearer. We don't disadvantage.
Naledi, I think I can answer that. I think I can answer. There's a difference in approach between the PDE, where, as I say, you get final accreditation and a professional designation, and CPD. CPD, as the questioner correctly said, is continuing lifelong learning. So CPD cannot actually be distinguished from PDE. PDE is your entry into the world of the professional principal property practitioner, and CPD ensures that as a principal property practitioner, you maintain your knowledge, understanding, and information regarding the sector for the rest of your career as a principal property practitioner. So the answer is no. The two are mutually different from one another, and they can't be merged.
Thank you, Mr. Ashpal. There is a question, VH. What bank letter is required from PPRA to get principal FFC? I've sent you the email address to registration. They will assist you with a template. Let's see if we have another question, Mr. Ashpal. Will there be past year question papers, Mr. Ashpal?
It's not really the practice of the PPRA to publish past papers, but what we will do, as I say, I'll speak to Naledi Mamiki and see if we can't put up some possible examples of questions or of the content or the way the examination is couched, just to assist candidates. We'll try and do that for you.
Okay. So the question of, will PPRA supply the study guide, or can I use the study guides from Aldous Academy? I think it's what Mamiki was touching on, that you can buy the study guide, but do you want to come through, Mamiki, for this one?
Thank you, Naledi. No, they can use the study guide. They can buy the study guide from the PPRA offices.
Okay, thank you for
the
that.
The one that we have, it's an updated version. So I'm not sure the one that the lady or the gentleman is referring to which one. But it's advisable for them to use the one bought from PPRA.
Okay, thank you so much. Zonika says, will the exam be online test, meaning that we do not have to go into the venue to write the exam? I think it's online, Mr. Ashpo.
It's online, yes, it's online. What happens, I think Mamiki can explain it better than I can, but what happens is you open up the examination paper in the morning at 8 o'clock. You then complete it and make sure you return it to the PPRA by 1 o'clock. Mamiki, maybe you can just expand on that a bit.
Okay. So what happens is that we upload a question paper on the portal on the day of the exam at 8 o'clock. Property practitioners who have registered, they can go in and download that paper. Another option is that we will be sending a question paper to those who have registered via emails. So as soon as you get an email from us, you download, then you start typing, and at 1 o'clock you need to submit that question paper to us with answers.
Okay, thank you for that, Mamiki. Is there an email address, Mamiki, for technical, or an email address while the person is going through the exam if they have challenges? Is it an email address for support, rather?
Yes, we do have that an email address, which is examsupport@theppra.org.za. I'll type it on the chat now, Naledi.
Thank you so much. Okay, she also... Okay.
Now, Lidika, just Mamiki, I just want to emphasize that you can, if you finish the paper before 1 o'clock, you can send it at any time once you've completed it, but by no later than 1 o'clock on the day of the exam.
Okay, thank you so much. Mamiki also wrote the prices on the chat, colleagues. You will put the support email on the chat. And you also said, okay, you were answering another question. Let's see if we have another question. So I have one from Zonika. I'm not sure if we've already answered it. Just to confirm, I do not have to be at the venue. Yes, we've already answered the one for the venue. Mamiki explained how it's going to be uploaded. There's Johan. How do we get in touch with other property practitioners in our area to form study group? This one, I'm thinking, as property practitioners, colleagues, it's important that you form relationships within yourselves. Here on the group, form a WhatsApp group, exchange numbers, exchange your cell phone numbers, form a group where you will interact as you prepare for the exams, find out who are they in your area, or even if they're not in your area, you can form a group and build relationship. That's how you network, you build relationships with it. Mr. Ashpol, I don't know, you want to add on that?
Oh no, I think you're 100% right. I'm just wondering if it would be possible to say identify where the questioner is located, and maybe ask. I don't know if it's a bit too late for us, but maybe to find out if people are interested in forming study groups, and then let the various candidates have information regarding other people who may be interested. Maybe we can look at that.
I can also add, Naledi, in terms of the late submissions. So no late submissions will be allowed. Even if it's 1 minute past 1, we will not allow those late submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamiki, but you are giving them enough time, and I'm sure property practitioners will submit on time. We have Mpo. May you kindly send us this PowerPoint presentation? Definitely, we will send you the presentation. And I think that's about all our questions. Slides, yes, we'll share the slides. Can I write the exam without having my FFC principal? From Vanessa, Mr. Ashpo.
I'm handing that over to Mamiki. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, she does not have, she's saying, can I write the exam without having my FFC principalization? But I'm thinking you have PDE for Vanessa, you have NQF5, right? You want to write PDE 5. So you can write PDE 5 if you have NQF5, and obviously you would have had FFC, but you need FFC obviously before. We need to check when your FFC is expiring. Remember, it's a 3-year FFC. So we'll need your 7-pin digit. Maybe we can check on the system. Mamiki, do you want to come through for that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to say you don't need to be a principal for you to write PDE 5. So like you rightfully responded to Vanessa and a lady that they do need NQF level 4, PDE 4 and NQF level 5 for them to qualify to write PDE 5.
Mamiki, does a candidate have to hold a Fidelity Fund certificate to write PDE 5?
Yes, FFC.
In FFC, yes, Mr. Ash, but not for the principal FFC.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So as long as they've done all the preliminary qualifications and hold the FFC, the candidate can write the PDE 5.
Correct. Yes, and the system yes. will not allow them to even register if they don't meet all those requirements.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, but Vanessa, maybe still send your 7-digit PIN. Let's see why you don't have FFC. Let's assist you. We need to look at the profile before we can give you more information on that. But I think the information does assist. Mamiki, thank you for that clarity. Devald, will the study guides be available in Cape Town? The study guide, I think, is you can pay the courier to you. For PDE 4, I had to get someone to stand in queue in Sandton for an hour to get the study guide. Mamiki, study guide.
On the study guide, when a courier has been sent, they need to bring a form, a study guide form, for them to be assisted. You'll actually have problems if a courier does not have a completed form for them to collect and a proof of payment for them to collect that study guide.
So, Devald, I'm happy you got the study guide, but apologies for that it took that long. You had to get somebody to come this side. Now you have our email addresses. For future, please email us so that it doesn't have to get to that extent. I have another question, Mosa. I'm not sure what he's trying to say. Let's see. Which have education service provider? I think you're trying to say which education service providers offer NQF 5, right? If I'm incorrect, correct me on the chat. Service providers, I know they're external. Mamiki, assist us with that one.
For service providers, they need to contact Services SETA. They'll request and accredit the service providers that are accredited with them, and they can just contact any service provider that is on the list for them to do their NQF level 5.
Okay.
No, and I think the questioner wants to know assistance with the PDE 5 if there's service providers who provide that.
Well, Mr. Ash, we wouldn't know if there's a service provider that is offering that. To be honest, they would need to contact them directly.
We can't assist with that. We don't know if there are service providers who will assist with the PDE 5 exam.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the question as well from Study Guide Cape Town has been answered. Mr. Ashpol, let me just...
Yeah, I might say, now, lady, the PDE 5 is basically the study material is designed for self-study. And as we said, it's designed for self-study. It will help to form a study group. And I'm not sure if there are any service providers that will assist candidates for the PDE 5.
Okay, Mr. Ashbel, thank you for that. Nomvula says, when is the next exam after February? Do we know the next date?
The next exam is on the 8th of May, but all the exams dates for this year are on the portal.
Okay, Gondi, please supply the banking details for the study material. Can they find it on the website?
On the schedule of fees, Naledi, on the website, the banking details are there.
Okay, I'll also put my email address here. Gondi, please email me. I'll send you the link. Please take us through the trust account. We're going to have future webinars on trust account. Please join. We're going to take you through that process. The students that did one learner, where to from here? Since there's no word about the class for NQF 5, can we apply for exemptions to write? The NQF 5, because they're done by external service provider, the way Mamiki elaborated, do you want to add on that?
Okay, with regards to equivalence exemption, Naledi, you mentioned equivalence exemption. Equivalence exemption is only granted to property practitioners who have a tertiary qualification. So what they can just apply to be exempted for NQF level 4 or NQF level 5, depending on the modules that they have done. Then we will just go through that application and see if they qualify for both NQF 4 and 5, and they will be granted according to what they have studied.
Okay, thank you so much as well for the email address. I see it. Zenanda said, is this the new procedure now? So the webinar, it was to give tips, techniques, strategies on how to tackle exam for PDE 5. And I'm sure even those writing PDE 4 did assist them, especially that we know after PDE 5, you would want to register and be principalized and upgrade your status. It's not necessarily that it's a new procedure. It's assistance from PPRA, to help you become a better principal. Let's see if we have another one, Mwekezi. How is the exam going to be written? And I think, Mr. Ashpol, you covered that. There is an online, it was highlighted in the presentation. I have not heard anything about NQF5, Zenande. I think Mamiki covered that. I'm not sure if Mr. Ashpol, you want to add in Mamiki, but you did cover that extensively when we were going through the questions. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. Naledi, I think it's being covered.
Okay, so I see Devald, my FFC history is still not updated, even though the qualification status is updated. Will this be a problem to register for the exam? When will the new FFC be updated? Maybe he's talking about being updated on the portal. Am I right, Mamigi?
Okay, so a lot of questions that we are getting, Naledi, with regards to as soon as a property practitioner emails us the qualification, some of them expect that as soon as it's updated on the system, then the status changes. The FFC status changes. It's not so. So what happens is that as soon as it's updated on the system, it will reflect to show that it has been updated. The status does not change.
Okay, I have another one, Mamiki, from PED. I have NQF4. Does it mean I qualify for NQF5?
If PED has only NQF level 4, no, he doesn't qualify to write PDE 5. Then he would need to write PDE 4 first and then acquire NQF level 5, and then he'll be able to write PDE 5.
Okay. So Ross, I see your question of explaining how you will receive the exam. Mamiki already explained it on how you're going to download the question paper. So that one is covered. Is submission on the portal or via email. I think you covered that they can email. Mamiki, the question it says, is submission of the exam on the portal or via email? I think let's say it again so that it's clear.
Okay, so the submission of the exam will be via the email to exam support at the ppra.org.za, but the instructions will be on the question paper on the day of the exam.
Yes, yes. Let me see if I have another question so I don't disadvantage anyone. Veli, do I have to register a company before I register for PDE 5 exam?
No. Provided you've met all the requirements to register for the PDE 5, you're registered for the PDE 5. Once you've passed the PDE 5, you can decide how you want to proceed in the future to become a principal property practitioner. You don't have to do it before you've passed.
Yes, Veli. Let's see. We have another one. What are the dates for this year's for PDE 5? I think you've covered that, the May and the February. Let me see if I have another question for you, colleagues. Are we logging onto the PPRA portal to download? You've already answered that one. But I think the question was posed after. Maybe she was not in the meeting. Let me read it. Let me not disadvantage Meryl. Are we logging into the PPRA portal to download the exam paper? Please show us the pathway on the PPRA website to follow.
Okay, Naledi. So what happens is that they just go on to the PPRA's portal. They don't need to log in, using their credentials. They just need to go in. The question paper will be uploaded on the first page of PPRA, and they can just download it from there. Or they can wait for our email that will be sent to them with a question paper.
Okay, thank you. And they're asking, do we have stock for study guides?
Yes, we do have stock for both NQF level 4 and I'm sorry, PDE4 and PDE5.
Okay, yes. So the question of courier was answered. You need to send the POP and then the form that Mamiki spoke about, the form, give it to courier company. They will collect for you and come courier the study guide for you. Can the study guide be downloaded, Mamiki?
The study guide needs to be bought from PPRA, and they'll get the files, both files for PDE5 and one file for PDE4, but they can't download.
Okay, so I have Tunnel. She says, I have my NQF4 and PDE4 as well as NQF5. However, on my PPRA, my NQF5 is not reflecting. So I'm unable to register for PDE5. Can you help me? Can you please send us an email? I think I'll ask us Audrey to help us with this one. But if you want to explain that one as I sent her email, Mamiki.
Sorry, Naledi, you got cut off there?
Oh, I'm saying there was a question that says, I have my NQF4 and I have PDE4 as well as NQF5. But when she goes into the portal, my PPRA for NQF5 is not reflecting. So she's struggling to register for PDE5. You see, she needs assistance on that. So I'm sending her an email.
Okay, Naledi, they can send an email, a certified certificate to upgrades@the ppra.org.za. I'll type it in the email on the chat for them to send that certificate to us, but it needs to be certified.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a comment from Jonita. I think it's for you, colleagues. She's saying, I used Brain Trust for NQF4. They are good with preparation as well. I think she's giving a tip. Let's see. Please explain how we will receive the exam. I think you did explain that. It was explained. Will the PPRA send us confirmation of the receipt of exam? I think she's trying to say once she submits, you get a receipt to say you've submitted?
They'll get an automation, Naledi, from the email that they'll be sending the question paper to.
Yes, Chris, you say you need NQF5 before PDE5. That's correct. You're right. Okay, Karen, you're telling us your venue. You can still order. I think that's about it. They're also saying Prop Academy can assist you as one of the service provider. Please be in touch with them. Students from MilZets have completed NQF5, but no results. I think this one, take it with the service provider. They will assist you. If I have NQF4 and PDE4, does it mean I qualify for NQF5 or do I qualify for PDE5, Mamiki? She has NQF4 and she also has PDE4. So she wrote PDE4. And now she wants to know which one is which, but obviously NQF5 before PDE5. Let me move to the next. Please explain how we'll receive. Okay, it's come through. I think it was your network.
Yes, Naledi, she needs to do NQF level 5 before she writes PDE5.
Thank you. Please explain how we'll, okay, this one was answered. Okay, colleagues, I think we saw all of your questions. If we close and you still have a question, you can still email us. We will still respond even after the webinar. What email can I use to update my FFC status? The registrations email, and we will help you. You can send to this one of stakeholder. Just check there at the bottom. I've sent it to you. Is there a limited time to write your PDE5 after you've passed your PDE4? Mr. Ashpal did present the times that you're starting at 8 before 1 submit. By 1, you will be done with the exam. We'll share the slides so you can read through them to try and remember what was presented. So let me see if I have another one, Pat. I'm currently on the PPRA website and all I see is all registration links from previous years, but no 2025. Kindly assist. Which registration link in particular are you looking for, Pat? Maybe we'll guide you to the correct tab on the website where to click, but everything is updated there. We will assist you. Look at the email stakeholder, email me. I'm going to help you so we get to the right information. John, I'm waiting for my NQF5 qualification. I completed successfully, would love to write PDE5 in February. If you miss this exam, there's another exam in May, but hopefully you make it because the closing date for registration, Mamik, is 31 January, right?
Correct, Naledi. Can I just also maybe give clarity? If they are waiting for a certificate from the services CETA, then it means the service provider might have given them a letter stating that external moderation has taken place. So if that's the case, the letter needs to be certified and it must also be sent to upgrades at the ppra.org.za for us to update. So that the property practitioner does not necessarily need to wait for a certificate, but they can just send that letter that is externally moderated, stating that is externally moderated for us to update.
Oh, okay. No, I think it's clear. Let me see. So,
sorry, before you
okay.
Can I just add one more thing that in the past we've actually had problems with regards to the emails that we send the question paper to property practitioners. Most of them, they actually bounce back. So I would actually plead with them to, on the day of the exam, they must just go onto our portal and download the question paper from there.
Okay. So I have a last one from John. I think it's about the study guide. He wants to clarity, Mr. Ashpol, before he pays. So my question, he says, PDE 5 study guide, will it change or be updated from February to May so that I don't have to pay twice, or is still the same study guide, Mr. Ashpol?
No. The February, the study guide that we're doing now is the latest version. It's just been updated. So it's not going to be updated again for the next 6 months.
Okay, so he's good. Steve, hi, I have registered and paid for PDE 5, but I have not received any confirmation from PPRA. Please send me an email. I'll send Education Audrey will assist you. Please look at the email address for stakeholder.engagement@the-ppra.org.za, and we will help you. She will check for you on the system. We need your 7-digit PIN and she will assist you. Amo, after completed the NQF5, how long should I wait before writing my PDE 5 exam, Mamiki?
Amo can write the PDE 5 if they're ready as soon as they've completed their NQF level 5. Or it depends on... Yes, Mr.
Mamika, I think it depends on when Amor actually wants to become a principal property practitioner. So if she's done the NQF5 but will be a non-principal for a little while longer, she doesn't have to write the PDE5 until she's actually ready to become a principal property practitioner.
Okay. So I think those are all the questions that we have today. So colleagues, thank you so much for joining the webinar. And I think it's important that we also read the regulations, especially 34.3 on duties of property practitioners, just their mandate, as well as you go through your study guides, your webinars, your study case studies. Mr. Ashpal, you mentioned that you will look for a case study that you would want us to share on the website as an example. Once you find that, please communicate with us, stakeholder, and we will communicate that on the website, Mr. Ashpal. It's doable, right?
Yes, hopefully by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much, colleagues. You'll check tomorrow. So I know the takeaways that we can take from today's presentation, we highlighted on ethics, especially as property practitioners, you need to be ethical. So those scenarios, those case studies on ethics, please go through them. The code of conduct, especially because it's important. And we know that the exam will focus both on theory and practical matters, as Mr. Ashpal alluded in the presentation. And you know that it's an open book, but just because it's an open book, as Mr. Ashpal said, does not mean you must not take the exam very serious, because doesn't mean it's going to be easy because it's an open book. Because remember, the aim is to professionalize the industry and ensure that PPRA produces quality principals, because this is a career and it's important. And Mr. Ashpal also gave you highlights as you were taking notes, colleagues, of please get your files, index the information, make sure that you get other information on other websites, go to your YouTube, go to your Google Scholars, and you can email him anytime. You can email me if you have questions. regarding the processes of registration, as Mamiki explained on the website, how you can find the study guides, the dates of the next exams, or the date of the closing. We saw that it's 31 January. We can assist you. If you have not paid, please pay for your exam. We are closing 31 January so that you can also sit for the exam. And I think let's take this opportunity now, while it's still open book, that we all write the exams. We want to appreciate your time, colleagues, for this. I am going to share the slides with everyone. I still have your email addresses, because remember I sent you the invite. You confirmed with the documents that we shared with Siba in the transformation, and her manager, Nobuhle, they're going to go through them. Thank you so much for that. We want more principals in the industry. And if you're going to drive, please drive safe. And please be on the lookout on our social media for more webinars. There's going to be interesting topics that are going to come up, and we're looking forward for more webinars for that. And Mr. Ashpol will communicate with the property practitioners for the other webinars on mentorship. They must just be on the lookout for that. It's also important. Colleagues, good luck, all the best with your exam on the 13th of February. We are still here on email, on the phone. Please reach out. Mr. Ashpol is here. Mamik is always available anytime. We're going to assist on that. Mr. Ashpol, do you want to say maybe before we close?
Oh, no, thank you. I think, yeah, as I say, just to wish everybody good luck with the exam. I've no doubt that we're going to get 100% pass rate.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues. I'll wait for more questions on my email. If you did not understand, we are here to give clarity. Goodbye. Thank you, Mamiki. Thank you, Mr. Ashpol. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, everybody.